Hello and welcome to this YouTube video. My name is Grace with creationalcodes.com. So hyped to have you here. Today we're talking about your environment and how your environment affects your spiritual embodiment, your mastery, and all of the stuff that we're trying to deeply dive into. How does your environment affect that? And I can tell you right away, it's more than you think. So does your environment negatively affect your spiritual embodiment? The short answer is yes. And the longer answer is absolutely. But why? Why do the environments around us, the people around us, more than the environment, the people around us, how do they negatively impact our spirituality, our embodiment? Aren't we supposed to be, claiming our reality as our own, fighting off the mental fatigue, the programming from other people? Yes and yes and yes. But we have to acknowledge our current state of reality. If you are living in a household or in an environment with lots of EMFs, with lots of microwaves, per se, somebody's always watching a TV show and there's drama, or there's shooting, or there's something violent happening, you're kind of in the space where you're going to be absorbing that, whether you like it or not, whether you're really kind of intending for that to happen or not. It's just inevitable. Similar to that with people, when you're communicating with people and they throw subtle jabs at you, or they turn down your belief or your idea or something you're passionate about, you're being programmed to not believe in yourself. You're being programmed to not share with people. There's so many nuances that happen when we're surrounded by people who aren't as inspired, as spiritual, and as loving as we are. The reason that this is impactful is because so many studies have been done that the people that you're around, the energy that you're around, the environment that you're in has a massive effect on your body, on your mind, and on your reality. A really great way to perceive this would be externally, right? So environmentally, if there is a chemical leak or some kind of dangerous component that has been released into the air in a community, that community right away is going to have probably some illness come up. And we've seen this over and over and over again in the TV, like what's going on in the world right now, where you're just seeing it over and over again. And we can witness, okay, these people are being kind of pushed into environments that are unhealthy. The same thing can happen in your home. The same thing can happen in your workplace. And more than just talking about, oh yeah, these things happen to us, I want to break down, okay, how do we fix this situation? The biggest thing is that your greatest intention should be to crystallize your space. So evidently that might mean that you have to literally leave that space. Leave that house, leave those people behind, because what happens when you say to yourself, I am only worthy of this. This is all that I'm capable of right now. This is who I am. This is this is my circumstance right now. To some degree, that of course is true because that's the reality you're living in, but to another degree, what are you worthy of? What do you believe yourself to be worthy of? Can you grace yourself with the opportunity of seeing what would happen if you chose yourself instead of choosing a past reality or a past version of self or a limitation? Could you advance and become a greater version of self, a greater possibility? And sometimes that means leaving where you are. What's the worst case scenario is that you have to come back, right? Maybe things just don't end up working out. And there are timelines that exist where maybe we feel like we have to wait for a specific situation to happen so that we can make our break. Leave that job, leave that relationship, leave that household, leave that situation so that we can become super clear in our space, which is of course totally understandable. We don't want to be living in our car or homeless or without money. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. I don't suggest that you throw it to the wind and say, okay, God, potentially, depending on what kind of person you are, depending on what your backup plans are right within this, So if you want to throw it all to the wind and say, okay, God, I trust you 100%. I'm going to choose only myself right now and only what God wants for me right now. And my space feels like it's cramping in. It feels like people are just shutting me down all the time. It feels like work's not paying me enough. I deserve more and I want to be more. So I'm leaving, I'm done. What would happen? We don't know, because it's a potentiality. So what would happen if you stayed? What would happen if you just chose to, not even change your mindset, but just stay in that reality? Things get heavier. Your thoughts get heavier. You feel lesser. Your aura gets weaker. Your light field starts diminishing because you're not choosing yourself. And even worse so, you know that it's negatively affecting you, and you're choosing to not take action on bettering your experience, choosing God, because if there is a resistance in our reality, that is a sign that there's something inside of us that needs to be healed, or there's something inside of our reality that we need to alchemize, right? So even when I say you need to leave, I'm not saying you need to run away, but I'm saying you need to choose what you are operating within. What do you believe yourself to be worthy of? And always there is a leap, there is a fear that we have to get through to become that better version of self, to change massively. We have to change inside. We have to change this body, how we perceive life, how we choose to take action. That all has to change because we are becoming something that we've never been before. We're changing our environments. We're changing our mindsets. So yeah, I cannot describe it enough how deeply important your space is, and your auric field is, and your temple is, because you are so worthy of trusting the experience. And it is mental, partially, right? So if we believe that we're only worthy of this, that's what we're going to have. If we have traumatization or belief systems that have been ingrained into us, that this is what we're capable of, this is what we're worthy of, this is all it can be, then that's all we're ever going to have. But if we have the belief system that I can change such and such and become a better person, or become a different person, or make more money, or move out, or change locations, or move to a different country, or go traveling, or whatever it is that you want, what is it that is creating the feeling that we cannot have this? Most of the times, all of the time, it is the mind, right? And how does the mind get programmed? Environment. So if you're around the same shitty people, the same shitty environment, you're never going to be able to change, because you're always going to be in that environment that birthed you into the person you are. So how do we change our environment, right? Firstly, you could clean your room. You could change up your closet. You could donate some clothes, find clothes that make you feel more embodied. You could put out items that make you feel more embodied, make you feel more aligned with what your life path is. You could put out quotes that kind of are mentally reprogramming you, put them on your walls. You could create boundaries, right? Within all of this, really what we're doing in our environment, in our energetic field, is we're creating boundaries. This is what I'm okay with. This is what I'm not okay with. This is what I allow. This is no longer what I allow. And the reason that that is so important to do is because when you set up boundaries, you're honoring yourself, you're honoring your integrity, and you're honoring what you're worthy of. And when you don't do that, people know, your life knows, your energy knows. You're not magnetizing what you want, you're settling for what you have. And that's not the creatorship code that God gave you. That's the creatorship code that we have kind of defaulted to because of exhaustion, because of programming, because of limiting belief systems. So spiritually, we're always working, your light body field is always working to crystallize your space, to make your space more clear, more coherent, more in alignment with who you're going to be, what you're evolving to become. And when the space is crystallizing, we become sometimes picky to the energies we're around, the people we're around, the conversations we're having. Maybe some kind of niches come up that we want to give attention to, and some niches that we used to be involved in completely fall out of our interest. People might fall out of our interests, events, activities that we used to love might fall out of our interest. And this is because we're crystallizing, we're changing, we're becoming more embodied. And I love talking about the crystal spiral. So we're always becoming the greatest next version of ourselves. It's a spiral. You're always evolving into the next person, the next your name. And we have to honor this because we're not always going to like what we used to like. We're not always going to be as comfortable as we are or were in the environment that we currently are stationed in as our future self would be. So it's almost like setting up boundaries and setting up new standards for what do you believe yourself to be worthy of? What do you believe yourself to be, like, how do you hold yourself? How do you honor yourself? What is your integrity with yourself? And what do you need in your sacred space? Do you need more quiet? Do you need more peace? Do you need more stillness? Do you need more color? Do you need more, like space, or like, what is it that you need? Do you need more plants in your room? Do you need, like, in your space, whether it's your workspace, whether it's your house, whether it's your car, whether it's your internal environment, what is it that creates your sacred space? What is your temple filled with that helps you become so embodied that it's easy to put up boundaries because you have a sacred space, you know where to refuge to, and that sacred space is so honoring of you and your needs and your beliefs and your desires that it holds you and it cradles you and it carries you. Like, our sacred space is where we recharge, right? So any place that you are should be a place where you can recharge. Your workspace should be a place where you can take time to recharge if you need to, like, it shouldn't be an environment where you're in anxiety and cortisol response and, boxed in. And like, this is the way that society has kind of set it up so that we can almost like fail and have these experiences of, is there something wrong with me? Why can't I make it? Why do I have to change so much? Why am I so sensitive? There's nothing wrong with being sensitive. There's nothing wrong with changing your desires or knowing what you're worthy of. That actually is a superpower because so many people are willing to disassociate, to become numbed out, and to not care, to settle, to exist as the matrix has decided. And that's not what you want for yourself, and that's not what you're worthy of. You're worthy of so much more. So much more. What do you believe yourself to be worthy of? That's exactly what you're worthy of. So one of the last examples I'm going to give is like how monks have to escape into mountains for years in order to become this beautiful, embodied, clear, pristine version of self. And the reason that they have to leave is because they have to create boundaries for themselves and for God. This is what I'm choosing to master right now. This is my goal. And obviously, most of us don't have the opportunity to like leave our lives and go into the mountains for a few years. So how can we create pristine energy right here, right now? Right here, right now, how can we multiply our embodiment, our opportunity to become more embodied, the opportunity to become more masterful, more graceful, more spiritual, more connected, more empathetic, more sensitive? What can we do right here, right now that supports that? That is exactly what we have to do, is just embody that, take action. Embodiment is action. It's not mental. So we do the mental work where in which, we're reprogramming our mind into positive experiences. Obviously, shadow work is important, but if you're telling yourself the same shit every day, I am worthless, I'll never get through this, I don't have enough money, it's not gonna work for me, I've done this before, it doesn't work, why can't I change? All of the stuff, it's in my family, it's in my lineage line, I'm cursed, all of these horrible things we tell ourselves. Like, we have to stop it. That is the reason that we are stuck in these experiences, is because of these horrible, horrible things we tell ourselves. So what would your greatest version of self tell themselves? That's your internal environment. And what is your external environment? What is it that you are creating boundaries with? I'm not allowing this anymore because I'm becoming more sovereign, more clear, more pristine in my space. It's so important, guys, that we honor what we need and that our space reflects that, because your space is the soil that you grow from. Your space is like, have you ever seen a tree be the only singular tree in a field? Like, that's hard work. Most of the times you will see a tree surrounded by other beautiful flourishing trees, and that's exactly what you want to create for yourself. Beautiful connections and friends and networks that support you and help you become your greatest embodied version of self. More spaciousness in your environment. You're curating your environment so it's exactly what you need, when you need it, how you need it. And your internal environment is exactly what you need so that you can thrive all of the time. It doesn't rely on somebody else affirming you. It relies on your gnosis that you're always that, and that you're held and you're loved and you've got this, okay? You've got this. I also invite you to give this video a big like, subscribe to the channel. Also check out Creational Codes if you'd like one-on-one coaching, one-on-one energy sessions. I provide this for energy field healing, spiritual work, ancestral line healing, so much more. Check it out on my website if you want a one-on-one session with me. And I have courses coming. Check out my newsletter. I would love to connect with you. So I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it served you in some way, shape, or form. Please give this video a big like. Please comment below if it served you, what your experience is like in your reality. And again, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.